Good day. Another edition of People Are Talking from the Adult Forum, and today we have as our guest Paul Pasterchik, Director of Finance for the town, and I'm sorry I mispronounced your name maybe.
No.
And we have our other panelists here today, Winnie Hopfer and Eleanor Stoller, and I'm Jim Jones. So we're going to ask you questions, hopefully, to inform our viewers about the finances of the town, and we'll start with a question from Eleanor, if you have one.
Yeah. Paul, I'd like to know, how many bonds do we have outstanding in the town right now?
Well, currently we have 7 bonds that are permanently outstanding. And they amount to roughly just under $14 million. They range anywhere from an amount of $14,000. We have a small septic loan bond where we have a 0% rate of interest from the state. We have a center school bond where FY10 is our last fiscal year that we're making payments on, so that center school will be paid.
That'll be this year?
FY10, right, it'll be paid, great. I believe, in May. That will fully be paid off. The high school has a small loan still outstanding for some renovations and repairs that were made earlier in the decade, around 2001 or 2002. Blueberry Hill and Wolf Swamp have an outstanding amount, roughly of about $10 million right now, and those issues go through the year FY 2022.
Oh, and when were they first issued then?
They were first issued in 2003.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so those are about halfway paid off. We have a big...
And what's the interest rate on those, if I can?
The interest rate, there's 2 of them. The first issue, which was initially about $10 million, was borrowed at 3.55%. The second issue was at 4.07%.
Okay,
So,
and you borrow these from the state, I assume?
we went out to the market and bonded them on the open market.
Oh, all right.
So those were the rates of return. We have a general obligation sewer bond for the Wheel Meadow School, or the Wheel Meadow Interceptor project, and that actually is our longest bond, and will be paid off in the year 2027. So we just had taken that out as a 20-year bond, and we have also a water and sewer bond for work over on Winona and York and areas like that. That is, it's a small amount outstanding at this point in time. There's like $900,000 outstanding, and that runs through FY 2017. We also have, just want to be clear, we have 6 authorizations that we have not permanently bonded for. Okay, we're just rolling over what's known as bond anticipation notes, and we're rolling over bond anticipation notes because the rates are more favorable in the short term.
Right, I was going to ask,
right,
with the economy the way it is now, they're not getting a very big return
right,
on the bonds.
Right, I mean, we're borrowing right now at 1.15% on these.
That's terrible. That's
well,
great for you.
Well, it's good for the town because
right.
we have to pay the interest rate, but the rate of return on those investors may not be so well.
Not great for us if we're going to invest in those.
Right, but there's a small loan for the high school roof. There was $100,000. Greenwood roof a portion of Greenwood roof was replaced. That cost the town $240,000. There was a sewer jet that we just purchased. The feasibility study at the high school. And there were some water and sewer mains over on Maple Road that are all part of those 6 authorizations that we're just borrowing money on a temporary basis.
Now, when you go out to the market, who buys our bonds? What is our rating?
Well, the rating is prepared by Moody's.
Right.
It's a AA3 at this point in time, which is a higher grade.
Right.
It's not the highest, but it is one of a higher grade. Right, exactly. And usually it's investors, it's banks coming in and buying it, or it might be a conglomerate, an investor group that is coming in.
Like Webster and
no,
Peoples and so on? Do they?
No, it's not so much of the local. No, it's not so much of the locals. They're the bigger banks that are usually picking up.
Bank of America,
right, and things to that nature.
Wells Fargo, et cetera, et cetera.
Right,
et cetera.
right, exactly. And we also have 3 authorizations that are coming up at the annual town meeting for, I believe, they're all water projects. So
right,
those
we
will also
have a
be
question
added to
about that. About there's a proposed water project, right? You had that?
Yeah. Yeah, I can't recall right now, but I have another one before I lose my train of thought. On that high school roof, that budget is still open? I mean, that bond is still open?
The high school roof for $100,000, we are paying off $50,000 in FY10, and we will fully pay that off in FY11, the remaining $50,000.
So it's going to be paid in 2011?
Right.
Okay. The other one probably was like Chapter 90 money. Do we have the amount that we're getting for Chapter 90?
I believe it's in the vicinity, the latest allotment that will be voted on at town meeting, I believe is in the vicinity of $380,000.
Oh,
Well,
is that good?
Yes, no, that's absolutely good, because
Yeah.
that realistically is a grant to the town.
Right, for
And that
repairs.
will be repairs of sidewalks and streets, whatever is on the priority list.
Tell me somebody who's not informed, what's a Chapter 90?
Chapter 90 is it's basically a grant from the state for streets and sidewalks. And there's a few other allowable items on there. But it's nearly an annual allotment that comes into every community that, again, it's mainly for streets, repairs of streets and sidewalks. So it's a nice little chunk of change to get some of the infrastructure taken care of.
Where
Like
do
a
you have
pothole? Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
something?
What's the total amount of money that it costs to run the town, taking into account all the money that comes in from fees from, say, the high school fees, federal and state monies that come into the town? What's
Well, let me start off by saying we roughly have about a $52 million budget that we're going to be looking at the annual town meeting. But as you say, there are a number of other things that are not going through the budgetary process. And we have some bond issues and things like that. We roughly go through about 60 million plus in those other amounts that are not through the budgetary process. Some of the bigger amounts are the state grants that come into the schools, state or federal grants. They roughly have about $2.5 million that come in through the state and federal system that they're expending. They have a number of fees. The Parks and Rec revolving account, as an example, has a pretty hefty operation where they do over $1 million worth of fees that come in. We have the Community Preservation Act also. So when you combine all those and add those to the operating budget and the capital budget, it adds probably about another $10 million in actual expenditures and revenues that filter through the town.
And what is, our school budget's about $28 million?
We will be looking for an appropriation of the school budget for $28 million. Above and beyond that, as I said, they have federal and state grants and other internal revenues that they budget in the vicinity of about $2.5 million.
Now, does the town portion of the budget pick up a lot of school costs that are not in the school budget? For example, say for snow plowing of the parking lot of the schools, et cetera, that type of thing.
There are a number. The school budget that is set to $28 million that you had referred to is mainly for the school operations.
Right? But they're
above and beyond that. You're right. There are some peripheral type of things. The DPW, as an example, maintains the fields and the buildings. We also have employee benefits and the bonded amounts that we had just referred to. Those are all budgeted for in different sections of the town budget. As an example, the employee benefit section, the school department has a portion of what is budgeted for in that area. The bonded amount, they have the majority of those bonds are school related that are budgeted for in the general fund. And again, as you said, the DPW, there is some maintenance and some groundwork that is also budgeted in lump sum, but a portion of that is really attributable to maintenance of the schools.
So instead of being approximately 50% of the town budget, it's more 60.
Well, actually, when you look at the numbers and actually divide out everything within the general fund, I believe that the $28 million is maybe 57 or 58%. And that's their direct operating budget. But when you add in those peripherals, it's closer to 71 or 72% of the full budget when you add in all those others that are attributable to schools.
That doesn't leave a lot for the fire and police and...
No, again, we've been making it through. We do the best we can with what we have. So in that regard, again, we're making it through.
Yeah.
We're making it through.
Yeah, on the medical cost, who pays, what side pays the medical? We pay a percentage. The town pays a percentage of the medical.
Premium.
The premium. Okay, yeah, I don't have the correct words. That's all right. And what percentage do employees, active employees, and retirees pay?
Anybody who has signed up for health insurance through the town, your employees or your retirees, if they are eligible. Let's do the employees first. The employees on a indemnity plan or a PPO plan would pay a 50-50 share.
Oh,
Okay? If it's an HMO product, the employee is going to pay anywhere from, the town is going to pay anywhere from 60 to about 66%, depending on if it's a family plan where they're paying 60%, or if it's a single plan, an individual plan, the town is picking up roughly 66 or 67% in that area. The town will pick up on a retiree plan for the retirees 50% of the cost.
they do pay 50%.
They do pay 50% of the cost. That is the minimum amount by statute that the town has to pay for health insurance.
So now, is that contractual with union employees?
As far as the employees are concerned, those percentages are written into the collective bargaining agreements. Yes, and again, by law for the retirees, that is the minimum amount of contribution that can be made for retirees is the 50-50 share.
Okay, Winnie, you want to?
Yeah, the value of our homes have gone down and the assessments have gone down. Why hasn't there been a reduction in our taxes?
Okay. Well, we need to understand Proposition 2.5.
Does anybody know understand Proposition 2.5?
I will give you the two basic points of Proposition 2.5, and hopefully this will clear up some of the matter.
Okay.
For the one thing that Proposition 2.5 says is that the tax rate cannot be greater than $25,
Right.
with the exception of debt exclusions. Okay. Our tax rate right now is $18.28. But anyway, that's the one thing that Proposition 2.5, and that is really what we're not confronted with. The other part of Proposition 2.5 allows the town to increase the aggregate tax amount that we use, the aggregate amount, by 2.5% every year. Okay? So the aggregate amount is now made up of two variables, the valuations and the tax rate. So although one went down, the valuation went down, the tax rate went up in order that we comply or can still raise the amount allowed by Proposition 2.5, which is roughly 2.5% greater than the prior year. A simple way to look at it might be looking at the equation of 4 times 3 equals 12, 4 being the valuation on the house, 3 being the tax rate, and 12 being the amount that we can raise. Well, if the valuation went down to 3, the tax rate is going to go up to 4, and you're going to have your $12.
Still going to come out at the end.
Still going to come out to 12.
Still comes out.
This
Right.
balances.
So it's the two variables or multiplicans, as they're called,
Right.
that you would realize. And as one goes down, the other one goes up, because the final product is still going to be a little bit
come
higher.
out of that.
Right.
So following up on her question now, if our tax rate went up because the valuation went down, does that mean when they come to us to fund the high school project, we're going to get hit again because at the higher tax rate?
The high school project will have an effect to the taxpayers. There's no doubt about that. It's known as a debt exclusion, and
That's not what some people call it, but that's all right.
it's a debt exclusion type of an override. I'm not quite sure what they're calling it, but again, that will be in addition to, if you looked at it currently, it would be in addition to what you are currently paying.
Right.
Okay.
So make no mistake about that. But
So it's going to be based upon the higher tax rate.
it will be based upon once we go out and start financing this.
Right.
The cost of the town in that fiscal year will be assessed to the taxpayers.
Right.
And again, until we really start paying the principal, if we're just borrowing a short or a small amount of money on just for cash flow purposes on construction, let's say, if it's approved, there will be a small increase. But as gradually as we get on and move to the construction phase or the final, when it is completed, we are going to have to start paying down principal. And at that point in time, there will be an effect to the taxpayer. I do have some numbers if people are interested.
No, that's all right.
How about the businesses in town? Are they assessed at the same tax rate?
They are assessed
as
at the same
rest-
tax rate,
they
right?
are.
The town of Long Meadow has historically what's known as a single tax rate.
Right.
We do not assess different amounts or different rates for commercial or residential.
Now, we notice when we go through the shops, certain shops are empty now. There was a flower shop that's gone, Blockbusters is going, there's
I think
rumors
it's gone.
a couple of other shops might be closing. How does that affect then our taxes?
Well, you're right. Those shops may be vacant. However, I'm going to have to assume that those people who are operating those shops may not have been the owners of those shops.
Correct.
They were probably renting.
Yes.
So the ownership and the valuation should stay relatively the same in that particular case.
So even though Blockbusters is gone, people are still
right. There
paying
might
the rent on it.
Right. I mean,
Blockbusters is paying somebody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right.
I have a question. Well, they're doing a lot of going over contracts right now. Has any contract been approved that has an increase where there was an increase in salary at this time?
No, not that I'm aware of. There's a number of contracts that have been settled, and it's all at zero cost of living increases. The police supervisors were the first to sign. They signed a 3-year contract, 000, on their cost of living increases. The teachers recently signed, and I believe another unit within the school system signed for 0, FY 10 and 11.
So when their contracts, though, are what, 3-year contracts?
It depends. The police supervisors signed for 3, so that would be FY 10, FY 11, and FY 12. The teacher signed for a 2-year contract covering FY 10 and FY 11.
So when they're up again, hopefully the economy will have bounced back, so they're going to come back at us now to make up for those
So
for those years
those
that they
are
didn't
just
get
cost
anything.
of living increases.
Those are just cost of
Right.
living. The so-called step increases
Right.
are
Still
still those for those who are eligible for them.
Yeah. Are there anything else other than cost of living that they get increases for that would increase the? No.
No, there's.
No,
I mean,
just
like,
their step
yeah, it's just
increases.
your step increases.
No.
There was very. The agreements are very short because they're more continuation of everything that was previous.
Yeah.
They more or less negotiated the cost of living increases and things of that nature. So again,
Now, when we go out, when the town goes out and gets the money from the state for the high school,
Yep.
Are we confident, I don't know if you're confident, are we confident that the state's going to have the money to give us their portion of it? Because the state now is...
I would be confident that the state will come through. The funding of the MSBA program, the Massachusetts School Building Authority's program, is funded by a percentage of the sales tax. So they get, I believe it's a penny of the 6 cents, 6 1/4 cents that we're paying now. They get a penny of all that, and it's strictly dedicated to their program.
So we should all boycott the tax-free holidays.
There you go. Yeah. Again, it has effect on their revenue.
It does.
But I'm
sure.
fairly confident. Again, they have a designated revenue
Now,
source.
who
I'm fairly
are we,
confident.
when we, our portion of the tab, we're going to go out and fund that how?
Our portion of the tab, we're definitely going to have to go out and bond it.
Right.
It is definitely, and it is proposed to be a bond exclusion, which will be on the June 8th election as part of a vote. It will be a number right now, and it shouldn't change. $44,325,000 is the town's share of this. Yes, it is a lot of money. Yes, I know. You know, but it's the biggest facility in town. It's
How are we going to know? I've heard a number of 3.5% on the interest rate. How would you know when you're going to take out that bond for the high school, what the percentage rate, seeing they kind of fluctuate?
We are not going to know what the actual percentage rate is until we
Until
go
the day
out
of-
to market. Right now, again, with the school building committee, which I sit on, we are giving ranges of 3.5 to 5%.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Well, it's a big range, right? But it gives it, I don't want to. We don't know what the economy is going to be in 2 or 3 years.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's why I was curious.
And the other question came up a little while ago: what are we bonding at Blueberry Hill for? Now, Blueberry Hill were 20-year issue, so somewhat similar. The high school will be a 25-year issue. But what was the economy like back in 2003? Interest rates were favorable. As for the rates we got, interest rates are currently favorable. And again, those rates were 3.55 and 4.07. To me, that's a pretty good indication of where we're going to fall in, unless something drastically happens in the market when it comes to the interest rates.
These banks to give out, to buy your bonds, you have to give them an attractive rate of interest. Otherwise, we're going to sit with this money and not be able to fund our portion of the high school.
And again, we're going to look at a couple different bonding options. What is attractive about a conventional municipal bond is that it is exempt from income tax for the investors. There are different types of bonds out there currently. Buy American bonds, or there's some specific names that the federal government actually pays 35% of the interest rate.
Right.
So we could go on and do it as a non-exempt type of bond, maybe pay 5%, but if 35% of that is paid by the federal government, the effects to our own financing is back in the 3.5% area.
Now, sometimes you hear commercials for bonds, and they say, well, they're exempt from state and local taxes. Is that just for, in our case, Massachusetts residents, or if, say, a New Jersey resident wants to buy our bond, is he exempt from New Jersey state?
I am not quite sure if they're exempt from New Jersey state, but they would be exempt, if it's a Massachusetts purchaser, certainly from the Massachusetts income taxes and the federal income taxes.
I see.
I'm going to have to assume that in New Jersey, if it's in New Jersey,
If he buys our bonds.
if he buys our bonds, it is also exempt from the New Jersey state tax. I'm pretty sure that's the case. Not 100% sure though.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, switching hats a little bit here, they have an enterprise fund, which you haven't heard now, but it was quite popular, I don't know, a while ago. Can you explain to us exactly what the enterprise fund is? The money's put in and you can't take it out. Water and sewer has it or something.
The water and sewer have both operated as an enterprise fund for, I believe the town authorized it beginning in FY 2009.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a self-balancing account, its own fund, its own accounting records, so on and so forth, that the money generated from the water or sewer operations remain within the fund and are used to be expended specifically for water or sewer operations. And if we specifically spoke about water, the water rates are coming in, and the revenue from the water rates is specifically to take care of the distribution and the purchase of water to get it back to the residents.
But the money that's into the fund, do I understand that you can't take that money out? It has to remain in there for a certain length of time, or am I wrong?
No, it doesn't have to remain in there for a certain length of time. It remains in the fund, so if there's a surplus at the end of the year, let's say if we operate at a surplus, that amount is going to remain within the water enterprise fund, again, to be used for other water purposes. Could town meeting vote it out for another purpose? I think town meeting can almost it has a lot of authority, but again, I think it would have to be more related and justifiable that is related to some water expense.
Well, I'm remiss in, I was going to start the show off by asking your background, and I was remiss in do that. I'm assuming you're an accounting background.
I have a bachelor's degree in accounting from Western New England, pursued a master's degree in business administration, which I have also. Began my career in the city of Chicopee. Worked my way through the ranks, 5 years in the city of Chicopee, left there as the assistant city auditor back in 1987. I have been working for the town ever since '87. I came here as the town accountant.
Since '87?
Since '87.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
The best years of my life. And then recently, or with the charter change of 4 or 5 years ago, I was promoted to the finance director.
Oh, okay. So. Very nice. I hope you like figures.
Yes. Math has always been an easy subject for me through school and everything like that. So that's where it kind of geared towards the accounting area.
So you're local product.
I'm a local product. I was born and raised in Chicopee.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And where do you live now?
I live in Long Meadow now.
Oh, yeah. Good. So if we get taxed, you get taxed.
Exactly. The way the phrase goes, I have blood in the game.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Good. I had a question and lost it.
Oh, sorry about that.
Not too good. I know it. That's not so good. It'll come back though. And I was going to say that many times I've gone to Paul's office to ask him questions about things, and he's been very helpful. I think he's very helpful to the, I tell the truth.
Did you want to ask a question about the? Go ahead.
I guess I was wondering how much the proposed water sewer project costs the average taxpayer.
Well, see, it's a difficult question because there's a lot of variables. First, it's not really the average taxpayer. It's really going to be based upon your consumption, your water and sewer consumption. There is a proposal right now and there will be a forum on this, I believe on the 27th of April, to talk about, there will be a presentation on the water and sewer rates. And there's also on the website a guide that to take your consumption if you had your bill, and you'd be able to see what this proposal is actually going to cost you. But the main component of this, quite honestly, is the fact that the water and sewer rates are expected to come down slightly. Okay? There is a minor shift to the fixed fee of the water and sewer cost. So depending on where your consumption is and the fixed fee, you could be paying a little bit more or a little bit less. It's not a large variance upon your consumption, but again, there is a rate calculator or a bill calculator that is on the website also. The theory is that the main component of what we're bonding for at the annual town meeting is for replacement of some water meters. As water meters get older, they do not register the exact meter consumption correctly. And with the new meters, we are anticipating some additional billable units because of the correct consumption being registered.
Are these going to be meters that you can read remotely?
That is correct. That is correct. But the main component that I want to say is that the additional units billed, the additional revenue that is coming in from there will offset much of the project cost. So that, I don't want to say it's neutral, but it's a very small amount for an upgrade when it comes to the water and sewer amounts. But again, I would encourage everyone to minimally watch that presentation on the 27th, go to the website, go into the DPW department page, and they have that information on there for you.
Okay, interesting.
I can assume that the debacle of 2 years ago or so when the water rates went
Up.
sky high has been rectified.
Right, that has been rectified, and actually the water rates come down by a few cents under this proposal.
Oh, okay.
And they are not expected to rise, in any which way, shape, or form dramatically over the next couple of years under this proposal.
We've been told we're going to wrap up here, but I'm going to give you a last question that the 2011 budget is now balanced, apparently. And what is the future financial status of Longmeadow? This is going to be a nice, fluffy question for you to wrap up with.
Well, there's a lot of variables there too. The biggest variable is state aid. The town of Longmeadow, 75% of it is in tax revenue, the revenues.
Right.
We know what 75% of our tax revenue is going to be. That's a fairly consistent amount. If the state aid remained consistent, or we could start getting some increases, we would be pretty stable. Employee benefits, we've been fairly successful for over the last couple of years. You'll see that when the employee benefit section of this year's budget is level funded. We've been doing well with health insurance rates. The retirement assessment is up $14,000 on a $2 million assessment. That's really minor. It may not be minor going off in the future. We'll have to worry about that. The local receipts, I believe, as much as they have declined, we're hoping to see those rebound. Things will be tight, and some of the biggest factors of how we're going to end up will be the collective bargaining increases, the
Right.
personnel costs of the town, which amount to 75–80% of the town budget. That is the biggest factor. We're lucky over these last couple of years to have zero zeros on cost of
This
living.
is taking
increases.
into effect the 4%, I believe it's now 4% state reduction.
It's a 4% state reduction. Yep.
We were talking 10%, then it was 5%.
Right.
Now it's
Right. So
leveled off at 4.
we have a balanced budget with that. There's a number of cuts that are proposed on both the school and the town side, to make up for that reduction. The other thing that's nice about this year's budget that I will say is last year we balanced the budget with roughly $1.4 million of reserves. We are only looking at going into the reserves for $200,000 at this point in time, and it's mainly owing to cover the unemployment cost, which is not a continual year-to-year cost. Right now it's about potentially 2 years of unemployment benefits.
Right.
So
We're concerned a lot with the senior population of the town that the tax rate is going to be prohibitive for these people who are on fixed incomes to be able to stay in Longmeadow, and they were the, as you say, the 75% base of the revenue for the town. And that's what we're concerned with. We keep hearing rumors that the senior center is going to be closed to save money. It's going to save what? Peanuts compared to $52 million budget.
Right.
And then move the store's library to the high school, which is going to, be catastrophic for the educational facility. I mean, every town has to have a library, at least independent, you know, and these are the things that the people are asking us about. And
at the senior center, yeah, they're very concerned, you know.
I mean, I hear those rumors, but I have very little knowledge.
And they're rumors.
Yeah, I have very little
because you're not in
knowledge
the
of-
situation that we are. That's why we're so familiar with it. And concerned. I mean, there's several people. You know, well, of course, I go on about the senior center, but I know there's several people when they lost their spouse. The senior center, it becomes their home. It's a place to go every day.
A lot of the single men have their
Exactly,
lunch there
both-
every day. And
Exactly.
it's a meeting place for them. And
they
For
serve,
100
what, 400, 500 meals?
I don't remember the amount, but I know our total budget that we get from the town is like 130,000. I mean,
I don't even think it's that much, Eleanor. I think it's
even lower than that?
It might be $80,000 in that vicinity.
see that?
That's pocket change.
It is, and they come after us all the time.
Right,
Not
right.
fair.
Well, I think because they have such a large facility there, that somebody in their infinite wisdom sees it as money. If they can get you out of there, they can sell that.
I don't think it's a large facility. Have you
Well,
seen any
yeah.
other senior?
Well,
I always
I've
say
been
that.
over to the East Long Meadow, and I think ours is more.
Oh, they've redone it. I haven't been there. Have you seen the Enfields?
Enfield and Agawam
Taj Mahal.
have beautiful
Really?
new senior
Right.
facilities.
Yeah.
You're not there yet, but you'll
Not-
get there. You'll
yeah.
get that.
You'll understand.
I was just telling people last night I was at a meeting and I get my AARP
AARP.
application.
Oh, do
Yeah, comes in the mail. Oh man, come on.
Yeah, I know.
I got a few years left, hopefully.
I know. No, they let you join early.
Yeah.
Right,
they
right.
do. And
So that's a good background into budget. You have any more?
I can't
So you
think
can
of
wrap up
anything
with?
offhand, but you know, I really enjoyed I think it's helped a lot of people out there because that's what we're trying to do, is bring information
Inform
to
the
people.
public.
They can call me. I'd be happy to come around some other time, and you know, if there's a specific topic, get into a little more detail.
I know.
And how many people are in your office, by the way?
Well, let's see. I oversee about 5 different offices: the
Oh,
treasurer
okay.
collector, the clerk, the accounting office, HR, the assessing office, and the IT department. So altogether, there's about 17 of us.
Okay, and you're physically located.
I'm physically located in the community house. I'm in
In
the
the
lower
basement.
level of the lower level of the
It's the
community house.
basement. You're down there with the health department and all the other.
Yes, exactly.
high-ranking
Accounting and HR, absolutely.
offices.
Right.
Yeah. And Winnie, have anything to?
No?
No?
No, I think we've
Okay,
asked all
that's
our
very good.
questions.
We hope we've answered some questions for the people out there watching, and hope you'll watch our television programs in the future. And we'll be back hopefully next month with another edition of People Are Talking, and satisfy your inquisitive minds as to what goes on in this town. And we wish to thank everybody. We wish to thank Dave Bartlett for his crew for this time on the air. And thank you very much. Thank you.